How's it going, everybody? It's Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be taking a look at my Game Week 32 lineup. We're also going to take a look at how I did in Game Week 31 as well, and see what transfers I will be making or have already made. If you tuned in for the preview stream, you would have seen the potential wackiness that I have done with my team. And we'll go through that in this video. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel. This is a very optimistic goal, 2,000 subscribers by the end of the season. I know you guys can do it. It's free to do, so just go hit the button right now. We would greatly appreciate it. And turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with all the FPL news and posts that we do over there. I usually retweet various different news outlets, as well as just funny different FPL memes as the game week is going on, and they need fixture change and that sort of stuff, which has been very important this season. And give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can join us for our preview and deadline streams. We will be doing a deadline stream tomorrow, 1 hour before the FPL deadline. There'll be a pinned comment down below that you can check out so that you can see what time exactly that is. Pretty straightforward. Links are also in the description as well. So without further ado, let's see how my team did in Game Week 31. So this is how my team went about their business in Game Week 31. And it wasn't very much good business, I'll tell you that one. 26 points, 18 points with the -8 taken into consideration. I'm pretty sure that is the lowest points total I have ever received in a game week with single game weeks in it. The captaincy was a blank, just the 2 captaincy points, 1 clean sheet point, which came from Saka, and 1 goal, which came from Heung-min Son, in a game where I didn't expect him to get anything anyway. So overall, basically just the 1 goal in terms of actual returns, but a total of 8 points by my calculation, 2 captaincy points, 1 clean sheet point, plus the 5 points for Son's goal for the team overall, and the rest were 2 1s and 0s. Just not great overall. But we'll give the team a rundown player by player. We currently sit inside the top million, just barely 945k or thereabouts. We made 3 transfers this week, 2 of which were for a hit, and we'll go through those as we pass them by. Also, players that were flagged in this game week who went off injured was Bukayo Saka shortly after the 60-minute mark. Cresswell came off pre-60 minutes when the clean sheet was still intact, and Rafinha also picked up a knock in the game as well, although he finished the game out but was flagged immediately afterwards. So potentially 3 flags that I would have had to deal with, not to mention some players didn't take part in terms of the full 60 plus minutes that I would have liked in Callum Wilson. But let's run through the team. So Areola could have potentially got a clean sheet, but I think that it was definitely served that he didn't get the clean sheet in the grand scheme of football reasonings, because Wolves had a goal which basically was ruled offside for, I still don't understand it. Basically they drew the offside line with the defender. They drew the offside line with the attacker, and they're right on top of each other. You cannot literally by the naked eye tell the difference, and they called him offside. So I still don't understand it. Maybe they know something I don't, but they should have scored on that front. And then Traore took his goal well in the dying stages of the game. So I think in the grand scheme of things, didn't really expect much there. Cresswell getting booked and then going off pre-60 minutes. It's just not been great for him in my team as it stands. He was the highest scoring defender when I did bring him in, and I thought West Ham's fixtures, were going to get good, and now it seems like he could be out for a while, so he's probably going to be making way this week if he hasn't done so already. A little bit of a hint there. Azpilicueta, again, not really too upset about the fact that I only lost the 1 clean sheet in that game for Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. The one thing I am upset about is the fact that Crystal Palace, 1 goal from 1 shot. That is the most frustrating thing in the world, when Chelsea defends so well and then they just give away 1 shot and Benteke scores it. It was a very big chance for him, and I expect Benteke to at least hit the target, and he did and scored, which wiped out all the Chelsea clean sheets. Not as bad for me, as I don't have Azpilicueta plus Mendy as an example, although I would have got the same amount of points as Areola. So again, not the end of the world for me personally, and I'm still okay with Aspilicueta at least for the next few fixtures. Luke Shaw, didn't expect him to get anything but attacking returns in this game week if he could. Didn't expect a clean sheet because I expected Spurs to score, and it was going to be a little bit more of a scoring match between United and Spurs, much like their last encounter. So unfortunately, Shaw didn't get anything in that one, just the 1 point as he was booked and conceded 1 goal. Bukayo Saka again flagged as well, came out of the game after the 60-minute mark, so I was happy to at least get 3 points from him. He came in for a hit for the likes of Ilkay Gundogan, who only got 1 point there as well. So he did net 2 points on that front, but with the -4, it's a -2 points on that single transfer, so not great. Heung-min Son has been in the team, 7 points. Didn't expect much because he was playing United and didn't want him to score really because that means United would have gone down a goal. But at the end of it, didn't really hurt too much because if Son scores, he gets 5 points and Shaw only loses 4 points for it. So a net +1 positive, I guess, if you want to look at the bright side of things. Diego Jota was our free transfer for this week. He came in for the likes of Ademola Lookman, who ended up being sidelined due to injury. That was for free, so we netted 2 points there. And we'll go over the calculation for the -8 and see how much points we actually did end up losing, because we definitely did lose points there. And he came in for the long term, and I think he's going to be good going forward. He might see a benching every now and again, but I think Jota's just too good to pass up on given his value. Bruno Fernandes, captain this week. I really thought he was going to get something. Potentially could have had an assist as well for Pogba's attempted back heel, which was blocked. I don't think Pogba could have potentially volleyed it with his right foot. It was a little bit tricky, a little bit more behind him, so he had to kind of go with something spectacular. And it would have been a spectacular goal had it gone in. Fernandes would have got me a little bit more returns there. In Jamie Vardy, again, another disappointing showing. I think I've had him for 6 matches, and he's only got the 1 set of 13 points. All the rest of them have been just 2s. So, again, he is just being outshadowed by Iheanacho and just seems to be not worth his price tag at the moment. Wilson was the other player that we brought in for a hit. We brought him in for Ollie Watkins, who ended up with 8 points on the night. Just not a great transfer overall. Wilson getting the 1 point, Ollie Watkins getting the 8 points, making it a -7 point difference. Plus the hit makes it -11 points had I not even thought about making that transfer. And at the time I thought, hey, why not? Wilson got 2 goals and an assist versus Burnley. I expect him to start. He's been training all week, and then he ends up finding himself on the bench. And when he did come on with St. Maximin, they did end up making things happen, mainly going through St. Maximin, and Wilson coming out with no returns FPL-wise. And then Kane, our vice captain for the week, he had 1 chance which Henderson saved quite well on his near post, but otherwise than that, Kane was held quite quiet throughout the game. And then looking to our bench, Martinez would have got 2 more points than Areola. Aina getting 6 points. You know, our second highest point score is on our bench. Just not great overall. Rafinha with just the 2 points was never going to play him versus Man City, although he could have potentially had a return in their win. And then Target 0 points, probably wasn't going to play him either overall. The only one was consideration was maybe Aina for the likes of Shaw, just because of the defender versus attacker kind of thing. But overall, not great. But looking at the transfers in isolation, so the 3 players that we transferred in was Bukayo Saka, Diego Jota, and Callum Wilson. That was for a -8. So their total points was 6 points. So we're already -2 in the hole, not even including what the other 3 players would have scored. And the other 3 players would have been Lookman, who scored 0, Gundogan, who scored 1, so that's -8, -8 there. My calculations may be a bit messed up, but I'll work it out in a second. And then Watkins was the other one. So Watkins got 8 points. So that plus Lookman's 0 plus Gundogan's 1 point would have been 9 points. Plus the -8 hit, so you have to add that on, is 17 points. And then I have to take off 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. So in the hole, I was 11 points in the hole because of those transfers had I done absolutely nothing, which is just very, very disappointing. Trying to upside chase, trying to get Saka on a good fixture, Wilson on a good fixture, even if it was for a hit. And to top matters off, Rafinha looked like he had a knock, although he's maybe good for the game coming up this week versus Liverpool. Saka played in Europa League, so he's probably fine, but he was looking like he was badly injured, and Cresswell might be out for a while as well. So I had to make some early drastic changes in transfers and look ahead to game week 32 with a bit more optimism and a bit more of a kind of throw the plan out the window. Our rank isn't great overall. Just trying to see if we can make it to the top 100K. Had to mix things up, and we did it in a big way. So let's see what I have for my game week 32 lineup. So this is how the team is going to line up in game week 32, barring any last minute changes. But I think I've made enough changes for this week. I've made not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. A little bit of a voice crack there, but it's so drastic. 6 transfers for this game week. And I'll tell you my reasonings why for it once we go through a little bit of the kind of housekeeping and details of the actual team itself. So we're switching to a 3-5-2, playing 5 midfielders, 2 up front, 3 down the back. A much favored formation going on for the end of the season because we have a little bit more team value and we're able to get a little bit more juice into the midfield where we're able to get a lot more points than what we normally would at the beginning of the season with better players emerging like Jota, like Lingard, like Neto. Unfortunately, he got injured. These sorts of cheaper midfielders that end up being around the 5.5 to 7.5 million mark, where they could pick up quite a lot of points for very little value. And you can have a couple of them with some premium players like Salah, like Fernandez in there. So squad value 104.4 million, 0.3 million in the bank, and I had to make these transfers early, and it was all stemmed around the fact that I wanted Jesse Lingard and I wanted Mohamed Salah. I was tired of getting burnt by Jesse Lingard, even though his stats show that he shouldn't be scoring the amount of points that he is doing based on his XG. But I've thrown that out the window. I said, screw it, we're going to get him in now. And Salah had to come in as well. And the only way to make way for that was to get rid of Jamie Vardy and use his funds to fund the likes of Salah. And what better way to transfer Vardy out for the likes of Iheanacho in the forward line. So we'll run through the team here. And we'll show you kind of how we've planned things out because it's going to be a lot to go through since it's 6 players in, 6 players out. Martinez in goal. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's going to be playing versus Man City at home because I think he has just about as much of a chance of keeping a clean sheet as Areola does versus Arsenal at home. But I think he's more likely to get some save points. And maybe City penalty takers aren't as good, so maybe he saves one. Who knows? But we're going to play him in there. He's got a double game week hopefully by the end of the season. I mean, he has to at some point. So we're going to probably keep him for that. Hopefully it's sometime soon. Azpilicueta's in there. He's playing versus Brighton. He's not going anywhere. He was in the lineup last week. I expect Chelsea to keep a clean sheet versus Brighton as they're quite poor in front of goal. Luke Shaw maintains his place in the team as well. He's got Burnley at home. He should get me some points, hoping for a clean sheet there and for United to keep a clean sheet at home. It seems like it's been quite a while. Unless it's in one of the big games, I just don't see United keeping a clean sheet at home. It's really weird how that's kind of panned out this season for United. Into defense. So we've made 2 transfers in defense, 2 in midfield, and 2 in the forward slots. So the first transfer we made was Connor Cody. He came in for the likes of Matt Target at Aston Villa. So Cody has a great run of fixtures. He's going to play game in, game out. He's cheaper than Roman Saiz, and I needed that, 0.1 million in defense just so I can have a slightly cheaper defender that just has way better fixtures. And maybe I got a little bit happy with the transfers, but I think his great run of fixtures will definitely pay off over the next few, almost certainly. And I didn't want to have to choose between Aina versus Arsenal at home or an injured Cresswell at the time for a position to play in the team this game week. So Cody comes in for me here. The other defender transfer, he's on the bench as our first sub, is Masuaku. He was the replacement for Aaron Cresswell, who looked to have pulled his hamstring in the last game coming off before 60 minutes. He's 4.3 million, very cheap. I would like to play him this week if I could. Maybe I play him over Azpilicueta, just, maybe, but I just don't see it personally. West Ham are still leaky at the back, even if they go 3-0 up. but he's in there for a cheap option and will be utilized later on in the season when West Ham have a great run of fixtures and Shaw's and Azpilicueta's kind of teeter off a bit over the next few game weeks as they slowly get worse and worse. Moving on to the midfield. So we made 2 changes in here as well. The first player was Jesse Lingard. He came in for Bukayo Saka, who at the time when I made the transfer was flagged and didn't look like he was at all happy. Arsenal have a lot of injury concerns as well, and are probably going to be putting all their eggs in the Europa League basket. They did get through versus Slavia Prague and will face Villarreal in the semi-final. But I thought Lingard, I just had to get him in. It just made the most sense, even though the stats don't make sense. I just said, forget it. I just have to concede on this one. Tried to integrate stats into my team this season, and I just said, you know what? Jesse Lingard's defying him. He's on fire. Get him in while he's red hot. The next player, we have the Liverpool double up here. So the other transfer in midfield was Mo Salah. He's going to be in for the run-in. Liverpool have great fixtures. I think the double up with him and Jota is just too good to ignore. And maybe we go for the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold later on when they have slightly better defensive fixtures in like the last 3 games of the season. I think they play like Crystal Palace, West Brom, and like Burnley or something like that in the last 3, or Southampton, and Southampton's in there as well. But maybe we look for for him down that way, and maybe we have him in on a free hit as well in 35, or utilize the blank system, because there is still discussions on whether the fact that certain teams are going to get to play at home if fans were only in the ground for the last week of the season. I'm going to save the free hit for if something like that changes and I'm able to adapt quite quickly and just have a one-off, use it on the blank or the double, whatever kind of works that way. But for now, Salah and Jota definitely in the team. They have great fixtures till the end of the season. I don't see them going anywhere. Bruno Fernandes, he's not going anywhere either. Potential captaincy shout next week versus Leeds, so potentially could be quite good there. Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, I'll talk about them as a pairing. They have the double game week. Kane is the triple captain, and we'll get onto the calculation for that in a second, because that's quite important as to why I did take so many transfers. But they play Everton away, who have been very bad at home recently at Goodison Park, and I think Kane could definitely get something there. And they're against Southampton at home, who are just not right with Oriol Romeu out of the team. I think that they're just, conceding 3 goals, could have been more, versus West Brom just shows a big vulnerability in the team. Doesn't matter if Jose Mourinho's teams park the bus. Kane is good enough to basically just beat them on his own, and with Son in the team as well. Kane was definitely going to be my captain this week, regardless of the double game week. If they had just Everton away, he was potentially my captain. If they had just Southampton at home, he was potentially my captain. So I'm definitely going to stick with him there. And then the 2 transfers we made in the forward line was Iheanacho, who we downgraded Vardy for, so kind of a swap of strikers for Leicester there. Iheanacho's stats have been way, way exceeding what Vardy's have been ever since game week 26. And the likes of Vidra is just a cheap enabler who's been starting for Burnley over the past few weeks, and we'll be utilizing him next week when Kane, Son, Aina, and Areola aren't in the team because they have a blank. And then we have Aina as our substitute on our bench for our 5th defender. And yeah, so those are the transfers. So I'll run through them again one more time. So the 2 defensive transfers was Masuaku and Cody in for Cresswell and Target. The 2 midfield transfers was Lingard and Salah. So Salah was the money that we used from Vardy in the midfield there. Those were for Saka and Rafinha. I feel bad kind of getting rid of Rafinha because I'm going to want him from Game Week 36 onwards potentially. But we'll kind of have to see how that pans out and how Leeds look for the final 3 games of the season. And then in the forward line, Jamie Vardy and Wilson made way. Wilson had a very short stay in the team. And we brought in Iheanacho and Vidra. Vidra just being a cheap enabler, and Iheanacho being the man in form, getting most of the big chances for Leicester as it stands. And he's got a great 4 set of fixtures. You can't drop the guy for scoring a brace. It's not possible. The only concern with that is Iheanacho has an FA Cup fixture that if you want to bring him in for this week, you have to put him in your team before knowing what happens in the FA Cup fixture versus Southampton. But I think that Leicester could probably get away with a rotated team in that one and still beat Southampton with their current form. Now, getting onto the calculation. So I mentioned this on the previous stream, but I'll do it in detail here as well. Basically, I'm using the triple captaincy chip as kind of a half wild card with a slight penalty on him. What do I mean by that? So my transfers that I used, I had one that was free and 5 that cost hits of -4 points each, which is a total of 20 points that I have to sacrifice and take to make those transfers. However, if Harry Kane gets, let's say, a goal in both games, that's 9 points if he gets 3 bonus in each game, for a total of 18 points, which is what the triple captaincy chip would earn me. So Harry Kane himself would get 18 points for being in my lineup. The captaincy would get him 18 points additionally, and the triple captaincy would get him another 18 points additionally. So the triple captaincy chip would be, in effect, worth 18 points. That being said, taking -20 plus the 18 points I get from that chip, technically I only miss out on 2 points. So I take a -2 to make 6 free transfers, in a sense, if Kane were to get 18 points. Now, he could get more, and if he does, fantastic, and the hits would have potentially paid off. But also, we have to kind of look at it from our previous week's team. Now, the likes of Cresswell is potentially injured. Maybe Saka gets rested. You know, there's a bunch of different reasons as to why I made these transfers. Lingard's the man in form. Iheanacho's the man in form. A lot of people wildcarded to these sorts of players. But I'm basically kind of saying, here's my triple captaincy chip. I'm going to basically get rid of it and replace it for kind of like a wild card, assuming Kane scores well, which I think he will score well. So based on that calculation, if Kane gets 20 points, it's a net 0. Basically, I wipe out my 20 points and I take my triple captaincy chip and say, I don't want it anymore. And then I start from 0 points across the board. Obviously, there's, if Saka were to come in and, get more points than Lingard, and, Vardy were to score more than Iheanacho and all these sorts of things, yeah, that could definitely happen, and it could definitely come to bite me. But in terms of just looking at it for the amount of hits that I took versus the triple captaincy chip, basically you kind of see it as that. If you wildcard, let's assume Kane gets 20 points. He gets like a goal, assist, gets booked, and then he gets in the other game, he gets like just an assist or something like that. He ends up with 20 points. If you were to wildcard and you took out Saka, you took out Rafinha, you took out Vardy, and those players did really well, you would still be down that amount of points even if you wildcarded. In this case, it's just a matter of I need to hope that Kane gets that amount of points in order to make it so that it's kind of a break even on that front. So I need Kane to basically score, I would like at least 15 points from Kane this week on the triple captaincy if I can. I expect him to get more. If he gets any more than 18, a goal in each game, I would gladly take that. And then it's kind of just like a -2 points for the transfers that I've made, and then I look at it versus my other team while sacrificing the triple captaincy chip. It may be a little bit difficult to follow, but the math kind of works out. If you want to see basically how I broke it down on the previous stream where I had like a notepad and stuff out, go check that out as well. We did it towards the endish of the stream, but you can also kind of ask about it on the deadline stream if you join us for that. But yeah, that's how the game week 32 is going to unfold for my team. Hopefully it does well, and I think the team structure is a lot better going forward for the next coming game weeks. And that's going to do it for our double game week 32 lineup announcement. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, and we want to see if we can hit an ambitious goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the season. And if we do, maybe there'll be a little giveaway among all the subscribers, so we'll see on that one. Also, make sure to turn those notification bells on as well so you can get the content as soon as it is readily available here on YouTube. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with all the FPL news that we post and retweet over there. And follow us over on Twitch so that you can see when we go live for our FPL preview and deadline streams, which we will be doing one tomorrow, 1 hour before the FPL deadline for Friday. It is a Friday deadline for game week 32, and we will be live over on Twitch, so make sure to come check us out for that. There's a pinned comment down below that gives you all the details, and the links are also in the description. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.